Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Angie Braley, and I'm the River Training Center Coordinator for River Management Society. And I want to thank you all for joining today. Just right out the gates, I do have this being recorded, and I will be posting this onto our RMS River Management Society YouTube channel, as well as posting it to our career series playlist. And so I just put links to that in the chat. Um, and I'll be reposting those. This is the third of 4 webinars in a series around building a career related to rivers. And again, for those just joining, my name is Angie Braley, and I'm the River Training Center Coordinator for River Management Society. We do have one more session in our series that will be coming up on November 6th, and we're going to be looking at emerging trends and future opportunities to help you stay ahead in the ever-evolving field of river management, river advocacy, river restoration, really whatever your river passion is. So again, this is being recorded, and if you weren't able to join us for the first 2 webinars in this series, you can check them out on the RMS YouTube channel and on our career series playlist, where we have a bunch of other videos as well related to river careers. So today, we're going to be looking at some essential skills and certifications for river-related careers, and hopefully help you enhance your employability, by looking at some of the skills and certifications that might be related to a topic that you're interested in. And also throughout this, I welcome you all to share any resources that you have. I encourage you to find your chat box there and feel free to introduce yourself. If you have any ideas of other certifications that you've heard of, feel free to share those in the chat. I like for these sessions to be not just me sharing information, but everyone being able to share information with each other. All right. So, kind of just starting to get into today's topic on some skills and certifications, sort of broken it down by some different categories that I'll be going through. And the first one here is around restoration, fisheries management, water quality monitoring. So some skills that you might want to acquire or hone in on are maybe habitat assessment or restoration techniques. So skills in assessing fish habitat or water quality, riparian zones, these are all vital. And knowing how to implement these restoration projects or erosion control or dam removal could be really helpful as you're trying to build your career. Some certifications related to this are, for example, the Certified Ecological Restoration Practitioner. I believe that's offered by the Society for Ecological Restoration. There's also some fisheries management certifications out there. I encourage you, Google that if that's something that's interesting to you. Another some other skills are maybe in water or aquatic biology, water monitoring or aquatic biology and monitoring. So expertise in monitoring fish populations or water quality and biodiversity using surveys. Also, some tools that can be helpful for this might be GPS, skills, GIS, skills, water quality monitoring. It says equipment, but the skill set to utilize that equipment, right? So I'm going to show a short video next, and it's someone who works in water quality monitoring. Again, I encourage you to listen and see if there's any other skills or certifications that you might find useful. And this is just one person. There's all different types of jobs out there. And as you're going to see throughout today, there's going to be some overlap in some of these different topics. So I'm going to go ahead and start this video.
My name is Regina Goldcool, and I'm the Water Quality Administrator and AmeriCorps member serving for Mountain True out of Hendersonville, North Carolina. A typical day, it really depends on the season. I might be in the office just doing like answering emails and crunching data and stuff like that, but I typically like to get out in the field as much as I can. I do a lot of water quality monitoring, be it chemical monitoring, where we take out water samples from a river or creek or something and analyze it for chemical parameters like pH, conductivity, turbidity, and do some bacteria monitoring too, looking for like fecal coliform. There's also the biological water quality monitoring, where I actually go out with groups of volunteers and we'll collect bugs out of the river and analyze those to see how their habitat's doing. If you can find that special place that you connect with on a really deep and meaningful level, that can really start like this cascade effect of like maybe even entire lifestyle change, kind of like what happened to me, to where, you know, you need that place, you need somewhere that, I don't know, just kind of sparks this deeper relationship with water. And that could just be visiting the same spot a couple of times, maybe through different seasons and noticing it change, or noticing any impact. I would say that would be my number one. The second, just volunteer. There's so many river organizations, and that could be, you know, your outlet, your reason to go outside. Is have someone show you, and, you know, dedicate a couple hours towards a river cleanup, or, you know, any sort of citizen science program, and help us monitor something. My name is Regina Goldcool.
All right. So that was just one example of someone who works in water quality and monitoring. And so, um, again, if, you know, that's something that might interest you, that might be what a typical day looks like, or an example of an organization that works with water quality monitoring. And again, I encourage you to feel free to put in the chat any other certifications or skills related to maybe river restoration or water quality monitoring or anything that you might know of, and we'll kind of build a list collectively. All right. So another kind of topic area that we have going on here is more related to river policy and management. And so some things you might want to consider if this is a topic that interests you is policy and analysis and stakeholder engagement. So understanding how to analyze water management policies, land use regulations, environmental law, and some skills that might be helpful with this are communication with agencies and communities and indigenous groups and nations. So building up those communication skills, right? Another aspect might be river access and recreation management. Outdoor recreation planners are folks who work with some of the agencies to help plan recreation in the outdoors. But then you also have people who might be uh, more planning river access or balancing conservation with public enjoyment. Some certifications you might want to consider, and these are just a couple ideas here, are like wilderness first responder if you're going to be working outside, leave no trace has a trainer course, or even just getting your basic leave no trace certification can be helpful. And then we've got project management, and that's managing projects, you know, with multiple stakeholders, ensuring compliance with standards and timelines. And some skills or tools you might want to be familiar with might be project management softwares. Here I put like Asana and Trello, but also if you're looking to go more into a state or federal agency, they might use Microsoft Teams or Google. So being familiar with how to organize and manage files in those different task management softwares can actually be a huge skill that folks are looking for when they're hiring. So now I'm going to show a couple more videos. Well, I think I got at least one here, just around typical day of someone who works in this field. Oops. There we go.
And we have a saying here on the Lower Salmon River, to love it and leave it clean. My name is Ryan Turner, and I have been the Lower Salmon River Ranger for the Bureau of Land Management here in Idaho for the past 9 years. So there's kind of this front country maintenance that we have to do along the river corridor, whether it be landscaping or cleaning vault toilets or collecting fees. But I think that part of being a river ranger is overlooked. But at the same time, we do the typical river ranger duties that you would expect. We do 4-day, 3-night river patrols, where we're always in river cleanup mode. We're looking for tires, trash. We walk every campable beach and look for micro trash. We pick up the highway trash. We also take our natural resource specialists down the river to do their site monitoring at sites that they can't access by vehicle. So we'll take our archaeologists down to do site monitoring, or our botanists down to do some endangered plant species identification. But that part of it, I think, is a side that I really enjoy, because I get to kind of dabble in all of the land management disciplines. I see it every year, especially on this river, the increase in the popularity of river running. So I think it's more important than ever for river users to be aware of the leave no trace principles and the impacts that they're having and leaving for the next group at the camp or whatnot. I mean, this is my office. It's pretty awesome. And we have a saying.
All right. So that's like a little snapshot into someone who's a river ranger working on the ground, managing a river. There are also folks who work in the office who help plan and manage river recreation, conservation, restoration activities. There's a lot of different aspects and different ways you can work on the river. And then, as Ryan mentioned in the video, all different types of natural and cultural resource specialists can also get down the river. So really, it's like find what you're passionate about and follow that, and there's probably a way you can still connect it to a river. This next topic area that I've got here is on landscape architecture and design. This is a field sometimes folks go into to maybe help design and plan river access or parks that involve river access. It could be urban, it could be rural. There's a lot of different aspects to this. Some things you might want to look into are green infrastructure or sustainable design. So this could also be skills in designing riverbank stabilization projects, restoring floodplains, looking at sustainable landscapes. And some certifications you might want to consider are becoming a licensed landscape architect. Or there's things like green infrastructure certifications, training around that. Another aspect of this might be GIS and hydrology mapping. So proficiency in creating maps, analyzing river flows, visualizing impacts of the development on rivers. And again, this doesn't just have to be under landscape architecture and design. A lot of these, like GIS, can be applied in a lot of these different topic areas. But some tools to consider building your skills in are ArcGIS, AutoCAD, hydraulic modeling software. And as I've mentioned before, these lists are certainly not all exhaustive. So if you have any other ideas to share, feel free to put them in the chat. Now here's a short video from a former colleague of mine who used to work for RMS. As you'll see, he did when he recorded this video. Now he's a colleague who works for helping manage the French Broad Water Trail, and he still does GIS work, but I thought this would be a good one to show just around how he utilized GIS.
Hey, so my name is Jack Henderson. I work for River Management Society and I make maps. I run a project called the National Rivers Project, and we do geospatial data and mapping for federal agencies, state and local water trails, and nonprofit groups that want to promote their recreational rivers. Typical day for me is awesome. I work with all different kinds of organizations, and I basically receive and organize and put together maps and geospatial information for different groups. So a daily or a typical day for me might be talking with a federal agency river manager, requesting data from them, geospatial data, and turning it into a product that's more usable for the public. I would definitely encourage people to get out and paddle. Get out and be on the water as much as possible, whatever level of expertise that is or of comfort level that is. But get out and meet the people that are working on and for the rivers that you care about. Not every river has a manager, and not every river has an advocate. But most of the time they'll have one or the other, and I encourage people to meet those people and learn how they can get involved, whether that's volunteering or working or just caring and promoting it. Definitely encourage people to meet the folks that work on rivers they care about. Hey, so my name is
All right, so that was just a quick snapshot into some GIS and cartography work that Jack has done and what a typical day in the office might look like for someone who's doing that type of work. I did see in the chat, Alyssa asked essentially is looking for more resources on hydro engineering intros, focusing on concepts important for rivers. And that's a great question, Alyssa. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that and pull some resources here, but I wanted to let you know that I did see that question. And if anyone else has any resources to share, feel free to put those in the chat and respond to Alyssa. All right, so here's another topic area around more outdoor education, interpretation, maybe even river guiding. Um, some things you might want to consider are outdoor leadership and safety. So skills in guiding groups safely on rivers, teaching outdoor skills, or educating folks about the river ecosystem or culturally relevant topics to the river. Um, some certifications that you might want to consider for some of those like technical skills or a Swiftwater Rescue Technician or an American Canoe Association certification. They have paddling and instructor certifications, so lots of different options there. The Swiftwater Rescue Technician, that's offered by various different organizations and groups, and there's a lot of different names now for the different levels, but that's just one example there. Another aspect is interpretation and environmental education. So the ability to teach river ecology and outdoor ethics to diverse groups. This might be from school kids to tourists. And so some skills you might want to hone in on there are public speaking or interpretation techniques. And again, after we kind of get through these topics and some of these videos, we'll get into a little bit more specifics on some of these and where you might be able to find some of these certifications. But first, I'm gonna play a couple videos here to give you an idea of the diversity of jobs out there and what it might look like day to day, and see if you can't listen in for some of the skills and certifications that these folks use in their day-to-day jobs.
Hey, I'm Chris Gedden with River City Outdoors out of St. Louis, Missouri. One of the best things about my job is that I get to get kids from our great city of St. Louis out on the Mississippi River. I think it's important to let them know that there's a history there, there's an importance and just doing and trying new things. Camping can be daunting. It can be frightening if you've never been, if you have to go purchase gear. So we want to remove those barriers. River City Outdoors recently stood up a gear library. So if a church calls and said, hey, we want to take 10 kids out, hey, we've got plenty of tents, we've got all the gear, we're going to do an hour and a half long training, and then they can go out to any park that they want. And if they need help finding a park, we're more than glad to do that. One of the best things about being outdoors is that we all can do it. You don't have to be a certain height, a certain weight. You don't have to be able to lift a certain amount of pounds. We can all enjoy the outdoors. And what's better than that is that you can learn skills to further your enjoyment of the outdoors, whether it's paddling, rock climbing, tree climbing, camping, or one of my personal favorites, fishing. Again, it's a way to really, really connect with nature and just spend some time in the great outdoors. One of the best things that we did is we worked with a local charter school, and we were able to get them out on the Post-Dispatch Lake, and at first they were strictly paddle boats. By the end of the 6 weeks, they were canoeing. They were absolutely having fun. You could hear it across the lake. It was one of the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard in my entire life.
All right, and I've got one more video in this category that I'll share.
My name is Kelsey Bracewell, and I work for the ACA. At the ACA, I am the Safety, Education, and Instruction Department Manager. If I'm not on the river during my day, I do sit at my desk most of the time, but I still feel active there because I interact with two general categories of people, which are the general public and then certified instructors and other paddling experts, people who are on the water a lot. And so I practice kind of a wide variety of knowledge and then apply it to where that person is coming from to help them with their problems. And so if I make it easier for other people to get onto the river or to reach whatever their goal is, then that's a good day for me. A piece of advice that I would give to aspiring river stewards or people who want to protect the river via their work would be, don't be afraid to change course. Through my education and my earlier work in my life, I really thought I wanted to be an outdoor educator, and I loved that, and I still do. But some trial and error made me realize it's not for me, and so I changed to a different track, and I'm really pleased with my work now, and I'm proud of what I accomplished with my coworkers and with this organization. And so don't be afraid to change your dreams sometimes, because it can lead to something even better than you thought. My name is Kelsey Bracewell.
All right, so those are just a couple examples and some good advice there from Kelsey, I think. And now here's I think this is one of my last topics that I've highlighted is around advocacy and community building. And so you might want to build skills in campaigning or grassroots organizing. This might be mobilizing communities to support river conservation efforts or policy changes, or even just local restoration projects. Tools for this might be social media for outreach, event planning tools, coalition building tools, or using social media for some of these things. Another area is in communication and fundraising. So having an ability to write grants, do fundraising, communicate effectively with the public and different agencies and partners and government bodies can be really helpful. So there are certifications that exist in fundraising and management, public relations, or nonprofit leadership. Those are things that you might want to consider as far as building some skills related to advocacy and community building in relation to rivers. I've got one last video to share here.
My name is Lisa Ronald, and I'm the National Coordinator for the Wild and Scenic Rivers Coalition. The coalition is an unincorporated alliance of more than 60 river nonprofits, and I have the pleasure of working with seasoned river advocates as well as those who are just starting their journey in river protection. I work to make connections between river advocates and better support them in the work that they do, and to strengthen and deepen the relationships with agencies as well as congressional members.
I also work for American Rivers as their Western Montana Associate Conservation Director. And in my role there, I work to designate additional rivers in the state of Montana and Western Montana in particular as wild and scenic, either through designation, through the legislative process, or through land management planning. And so this is one river, one beautiful river in northwestern Montana that's a great candidate for wild and scenic.
I think the best advice I can give is that river conservation isn't something that you can do in a vacuum. It isn't something that you can do alone. Relying on your partners, your agency partners, your nonprofit partners, those across the aisle from you, your community is really the way to achieve good river conservation.
All right. So I think Lisa did a good job of summing it up of like, none of this work takes place in a vacuum, and everyone has different skills that they can utilize to help work together and work with rivers, on rivers, to protect rivers. So keep that in mind, building your own skill set. And I see that there's awesome resources being shared in the chat. So yay. Be sure to pay attention to the chat there. So kind of moving on to some more like actual specific types of certifications, depending on what you might want to go into. I did want to highlight a couple just certifications, for example, for fieldwork and safety that you might find useful, that might apply kind of depending on your job, and it might not necessarily fall under one topic area or another from that previous section, but some of these might overlap depending on the work that you're aspiring to do or that you're currently doing or that you're hired to do. So one of these might be wilderness first responder or wilderness first aid certification. The first responder certification is really the gold standard for anyone who's going to be working in remote environments, and it equips you to handle medical emergencies far from the urban medical centers that we're so often used to getting to really quickly. So it's how to kind of manage those situations when you can't get there quickly, right? Again, this might be helpful for anyone who's looking into going into outdoor education, river guiding, even restoration teams working in remote areas. Another certification that I mentioned earlier is like a swiftwater rescue technician certification. Again, that's providing some essential skills to anyone who's working around rivers in quickly moving water. Those can be unpredictable and dangerous situations working next to water. So it just helps people understand some of the rescue techniques, or how to use equipment, safety equipment around rivers, managing emergencies in river environments and things like that. Not only is this something that a lot of river guides get, but again, those fishery biologists, hydrologists, anyone doing field work in swiftwater conditions, this might be something that can help elevate you above some other applicants, perhaps. Some specialized certifications for technical skills. For example, there's the Associate Fisheries Professional Certification. That one's for undergrads. I think you have to have a BA to get that, but don't quote me. There's more information at this website that I'm putting in the chat. Or if you're a master's student, they even have a next level, like a certified fisheries professional. This is from the American Fisheries Society, and it helps ensure that professionals working in fisheries management and aquatic conservation are equipped with the scientific and technical expertise needed. So again, this might be applicable to fisheries managers, aquatic biologists, restoration professionals involved with fish habitat or conserving aquatic ecosystems. And then GIS certification might also be a helpful technical skill type certification that you can pursue. And there's a lot of different GIS certificates offered through universities, community colleges. These certificates are important because they help make sure that you know how to use GIS to visualize watersheds or monitor changes in river ecosystems. It can help with evaluating environmental impacts. So this might be important for landscape architects, environmental planners, hydrologists, river restoration specialists, and really helps with that data collection for some spatial analysis and map making for all different reasons. And then some certifications related to policy advocacy and management that could help boost your resume or elevate you above some of the other candidates. Might be an environmental impact assessment certificate or certification. These are important for policy and river management. They help ensure that proposed projects, such as like a dam or development, or maybe even a restoration project, comply with environmental regulations. And if you're looking at working for an agency, this might be something that is really important to them. But it gives people the skills to assess environmental risks. And as mentioned, this is important for river policy experts, environmental consultants, project managers, even advocacy professionals. And then another certification that you might want to pursue is, let's see, is related to nonprofit management or public administration certificate. So many advocacy and river conservation groups are structured as nonprofits, and having a certificate or a certification in nonprofit management or public administration can help you understand how these organizations are led, how they're organized, how to manage finances, oversee outreach efforts, and even work with partners or government agencies to implement some river conservation initiatives. So this might be relevant to community organizers, advocates, nonprofit leaders, policy professionals, a whole bunch of different groups, right? Oh, that top one, it's a duplicate. Apologies for that. But going down, and then we've got for outdoor education and guiding. You can look to like the American Canoe Association, and they have an instructor certification, but also different types of paddling certifications that can enhance your credibility if you're looking to go into river guiding, or if you're an outdoor educator working on the water, because they'll help verify your skills and make sure that you have safe paddling practices. Also, maybe like a leave no trace instructor or even trainer certificate. This can help you learn how to teach folks about leave no trace principles to help reduce human impacts on our river systems. Again, important for outdoor educators, river guides, or advocates who are working with the public on education programs around rivers. And another one that can help is like a certificate in interpretive guiding. This is through the National Association for Interpretation and is a like a 32-hour course that folks can do. It teaches you techniques on how to essentially connect objects and ideas to larger themes and help larger themes around rivers and our ecosystems and help lead those engaging experiences for folks. So these are just some certifications, but again, there's many more out there. And I like that Michael here in the chat has added in talking about using GIS for some development of H&H models in the past and providing technical assistance for communities through the FEMA hazard mitigation funding. So that's really awesome. And then MB also shared some information around the Beaver Institute. Water Stories also has an advocacy pathway. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And again, if anyone else has anything to share, feel free to put it in the chat. I'll like compile all this and add it to the video description that I will send out to everyone after this webinar, along with the link to the recording. So just a few more tips on career advancement and staying competitive as you're thinking about building your river career is keeping in mind those networking and professional associations. We went into depth on this in our last webinar, which was at the beginning of the month. You can find it on the YouTube channel. And this QR code here goes to a document that we compiled of all different types of different professional associations and conferences that they might host. Again, I encourage you to go back to this list and see some of these organizations also offer extended education opportunities. They offer certifications, certificates, webinars, courses. So these are all great resources for helping you kind of get that competitive edge. And I can also provide a link to this in the chat as well. Another tip here is just continue building those soft skills. So, communication, teamwork, and leadership, these are all really critical. Both in fieldwork, policy roles, management roles. I know going out on the river, we often think that we're by ourselves, but we're often working with others. So being able to communicate with others, work well with others goes a long way. And some examples of helping you build these soft skills might be leading a project, leading that team through a project, or presenting a proposal, whether it's to like a local government or to project partners at the end of a project that summarizes all the work that you've accomplished. Maybe it's teaching a class or an educational session related to rivers. So just a few different ways that you can continue to build those soft skills. And then also staying current with some of the emerging trends that are out there. So there's always new technologies coming out and staying current with those. So that, I saw at the beginning someone mentioned drone 10 part 107 drone license for commercial drone usage. Thanks, Nathan. Maybe it's staying up to date in policy changes and, getting on the email list for the EPA of anything related to the Clean Water Act, or maybe it's reading white papers that the Interagency Wild and Scenic Rivers Coordinating Council publishes. So staying up to date on those things can be really helpful, and give you an edge against above others that are also looking to start their careers. Another one that I personally do just to stay up to date on like what's going on with rivers is, for example, I've gone on to Google News and I've made an alert for wild and scenic rivers. And anytime there's a mention of wild and scenic rivers in the news, I get a summary of all the different articles. You can also go onto Google Scholar and set up an alert for new research that's coming out through Google Scholar. You might not always have direct access. Sometimes the articles that come up on Google Scholar are behind a paywall. But if you are a student at a university, I highly encourage you to take advantage of your school's subscription to some of the different academic journals and databases to find those publications and read through them and learn about some of the new strategies that are being talked about or implemented, because that can really help you out as you're getting into the career field. One of the last things I want to leave you with here is thinking about some of these core competencies. A lot of different agencies and organizations are starting to identify or have identified different core competencies that might make you successful in different fields. So I have a QR code here to, I think it's the core competencies for river management specialists and non-specialists. And there's a couple different ways that you can access these resources. One way you see there is rivers.gov, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up because I think this is important for people to be able to navigate to. So rivers.gov, this is the National Wild and Scenic River System website, and it is mostly related to wild and scenic rivers, but there's a lot of resources here that can apply to all rivers. And if you go to this tab here at the top, river resources, and the third one down is training. It's going to give you a little information about our river training center here at RMS. There's also some self-paced modules from the Epley Institute for Parks and Public Lands related to wild and scenic rivers, but there's also ones on interpretation, wilderness, different types of public land management topics, and a lot of them are free. You just have to register. So another place, I once took one of these, put it on my resume, and it helped me. It was brought up in an interview. They were impressed that I had that. So maybe that's just a personal anecdote, but some additional free training that you can do at your own pace here. And then at the bottom here, the Interagency Wild and Scenic Rivers Coordinating Council has identified some core competencies. So you can click here to see a document that has some core competencies and related resources. However, there's another place here on the River Management website, River Management Society website, river-management.org. This is just our homepage. You can go to training events, and then the third one down is our River Training Center. And we recently added this section, and I'm really excited about it. When you kind of scroll down, you're going to find core competencies for river managers. Again, this is river manager specific, but perhaps if you're looking to go into something like outdoor education or recreation, there might be some core competencies out there that exist. And these are just a good guide. So come here and click on our core competencies webpage. It brings up a bunch of different resources. Here you do have the actual core competencies document. This can be helpful because I know it's kind of wordy, but kind of breaks things down into river management specialists, river management non-specialists. So say you're a non-specialist, I'm going to scroll down to the non-specialist part. Bear with me with the scrolling. I know it's a lot of scrolling. And you're just like at that entry level or the recognition level here. These are some things that a job might be looking for, is your knowledge and understanding of these bullet points, or your ability to explain the meaning of wild and scenic river designation. This is just one topic area, and this one's really wild and scenic river specific, but maybe you're not looking to work on a wild and scenic river, you're looking to go more into river planning, recreation planning, it might, here you've got knowledge and understanding of the basic components and applicable land management plans or comprehensive river management plans. Knowing what that means could be really helpful as you're working into these jobs or preparing for an interview. So this is just another resource that exists. And if you go back to our core competency page here, we also have this self-assessment related to the core competencies, and it's an Excel spreadsheet that you can open up and you can just kind of go down and mark where you think you are on the different spectrums related to the competencies, just for your own knowledge. And then you can use that to identify where might you need more training to make you more well-rounded in a topic. So again, these are just some tools. We also have an entire recorded webinar here on how to use this self-assessment and really go through it. You can also find this video on our YouTube channel. So I know I've just shared a whole bunch of information and tools and resources. So I'm gonna kind of pause and stop and see if anyone has any questions. And if so, you're welcome to put them in the chat. You're also welcome to come off mute and ask them as well. And again, I'll provide like a PDF of these slides in addition to the recording. So if there's anything that I zoomed through and you want to go back and I'll also add all these awesome links that people are sharing. And then just kind of circling back to Alyssa's question on some additional tips on resources around hydroengineering. This was a website that I'd kind of found on the side. And if you're not familiar, I can put this link here in the chat. But I'm sure if you've looked into this topic before, you might already be familiar. So I can pull that up here. All right, so I did see a question come into the chat here around, do I have any river-related certifications and what was the process of getting them like? So yeah, great question. I guess, I started out back when I was in college getting first my wilderness first responder certification, that medical certification. And at the time, I got it because I was doing a lot of things outdoors with friends, and I just wanted to make sure that if something happened, we would have the training and tools to help take care of that situation. I did not get it because I wanted to be a river guide or anything like that. But once I got that certification, the doors started to open a little bit. I eventually went on to be a hiking guide at the Grand Canyon. And then I did get introduced to river guiding. I spent about 8 years doing that. And during that time, I got a certification from like my Swiftwater rescue certification. That involved a 3-day course, getting out on the river, everything from like trying to swim across the river or us simulating different hazards and how to rescue someone or ourselves from that river hazard. It was a little intimidating, but in the end, it was awesome. All the instructors and everyone in the course are super supportive and want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with the amount of risk, right? After that, I went on and I did get an interpretive uh, certificate. That was really fun because it taught me more about the realm of education and how to connect with people and get them to really care and connect with the river. And so I thought that was really beneficial. I did a little bit of GIS training when I was in graduate school, and I did not get a certificate in that, but I do wish I could go back and get a certificate in that because there's been several times in my work where it would have been beneficial to have, and instead I have to go find someone who has those skills. After that, I have completed some of these EPLI courses, and I've found them really, really interesting, really helpful in my understanding of some of the policy and law out there, and how the government works and how these nonprofit agencies are able to advocate for a river to be protected, and then how that process actually goes all the way through until it's actual law. So that was really illuminating for me. So those are just some of the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. And, going through those EPLI modules, it was some reading, some videos. It kind of depended on the module. It took me probably about 10 hours to do some of the wild and scenic river courses. So I did have to set aside a little bit of time, but in the end, I've gone back and referenced information from those courses more than I ever thought I would. Well, any other questions that folks have? I just want to say thank you again, and I hope you found today's session useful. And as I kind of touched on a little bit before, think some of the most important things you can keep in mind are invest in lifelong learning. You can't go out and get all these certifications tomorrow. Some of them cost a lot. They're time investment. So just keep building your skill set, seek out new opportunities, stay connected with the different communities of practice or those associations or all those different groups. And remember that the work we do on rivers and with rivers is not just about the water or the ecosystems, but it's also about the people. So building connections to different people and the communities is going to be important. And whether that's just working in a team or advocating for environmental justice and working with diverse groups. So, excuse me. So thank you again. And I'll get this loaded up on the YouTube channel and I'll send it out to everyone. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week.